The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Oh, there they are.
This is my clock.
Welcome to the Cosmic Disaster Show. I'm Tommy D, and this week we're talking about mental health and empowerment. So this is going to be, I felt like it was going to be a serious show, but
Cory just got serious.
Then
she
we
sipped her drink and she's like, serious.
then we invited people.
No,
You're absolutely right. I went, okay, yep, we're on.
And
we're on.
yeah. All right. So before we get started, we're going to go around the room and meet our wonderful guests. So this week joining us on the couch, we've got Elliot, Sage, Saint Sia,
Hi.
the grade A sexual and holiday drunk.
My pronouns are they, them. There wasn't anything funny about that. I was just telling you my pronouns.
I just wasn't sure if you were done. I thought
No, I could come up with something, but y'all
No, you're
heard
fine.
most of my jokes. So.
Yeah, we've already.
Yeah.
Zoolander.
Great
So-
asexual is probably the best line I could have
It's
come
so
up
good.
I feel
It's
like
so good.
seriously there's a stamp in the mix
Yeah,
here.
we need to make a stamp.
That's happening.
And joining us on the couch, as always, never on the couch, but
Wow.
your stains will stay forever, though.
I'm really not sure what's happening right
Cory,
now.
Corey Markowitz,
I'm just gonna
professional actor, person, and destroyer, and oral destroyer of worlds. Yeah,
Thank you.
Drug.
drug.
Period. Hello. It's lovely to be here.
It's lovely to have you here.
It's really great to see all of you. So thanks for
Also
having
joining
me.
us this week, we've got the Afrovescent Luca Black, professional drag artist, and so much more.
What's up, bitch? I will say, say that it is great to be here with all of the lemon farts. I really do enjoy them.
We're going to have to explain that now.
No, we don't.
Your microphone arm just keeps.
I know. And see, here's the thing.
Look at watch. The closer it gets to your titties, let it go.
Closer.
So we'll have to figure out a way to work that to keep it down.
It has.
All right.
I'm gonna do this.
You need to get one of those straps, you know.
We need to do this. Do a strap.
You need to strap
All right.
it down so when it gets up, when it goes up, it stays down.
Whenever I strap.
And also joining us for the very first time, it's Radio Bitch's ass on camera.
That's
there
not
we
the
go.
first time.
It's
you
not
say
the first
Radio
time.
Bitch's
It was
ass?
on last Friday too.
Won't be the last.
I'm sorry. I just hit on your wife. I just met you today.
That's all right.
Do it
That's all right.
I mean, all I'm
Joining
saying
us.
is who would not.
Joining us for the first time, it's Tamura, professional awesome person and semi-professional wine bringer.
Yeah.
I don't want
That
to
was
get
so
on
accurate.
Wine bringer.
I put the ass in class.
Damn, yeah, you
Very
do. Yeah, you do. And as always, we've got our beloved little crew of misfits as well. We've got the face of giving face. It's Jay Quellen.
Jay Cullen Balake.
so good.
Baby.
No one
Baby.
gives face like Jay Quellen gives face.
It's true.
Right?
the
I
face.
give
Especially
oral.
like sad face.
Oh, that was
See that good?
Hey, I am the oral. Wait.
The oral destroyer of worlds.
Destroyer of
Better
worlds.
than
Yes.
anal
You do
destroyer.
not get to. Yeah, it is better than that.
No one wants to be
well,
an anal
actually,
destroyer.
Probably for someone it isn't, but for me it is.
Well, for some people it's cool.
I'm a platonic cuddler.
And joining us from the Outer Rim territory of Boston via Discord, it's Daddy Louie.
Hello, children.
How are you?
Hi.
Great.
Okay.
I'm fantastic.
Yeah, you are.
It just makes me want to talk like a 2-year-old. Hi, Daddy.
I know,
There
right?
you are. All right. And also joining us from Discordia this week, it's General Knowledge.
General knowledge.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Pretty
up?
good. Pretty good.
It's me,
I
Mario.
forgot to make her a button for the Cosmic Disaster Show. Or Daddy Louie has a button. It's the remote cam button.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I forgot to tell you. So there's that.
Well,
so
because
we'll
I
fix
know
it.
and osmosis.
Yeah, we'll-
obviously.
Okay, but do you want to go over there?
We'll fix it in post.
You've been talking about knowing these buttons for a while.
Yeah.
The button.
So we'll fix it in post.
Touches buttons a lot.
I'm
So-
here to talk less.
I push buttons.
Yes.
And
Talk
smile
less,
more.
smile more. So
Oh, Hamilton.
we do have a lot to talk about this week, but before we get started, we are going to throw it over to Miss Jay Quellen for our Geek of the Week.
I have notes.
Oh, very good.
She's extra legit.
She's got papers.
And
like
this week's
Charlotte
Geek of the
Roy.
Week is...
This week's Geek of the Week is Andrew Saliba, or on social media and all the streaming apps, he is the official AES, pronounced Ace, the official Ace. He is from the Cleveland area, North Olmsted. I met Andrew a few weeks ago at the Best Buy. I was buying a MacBook Pro to help out with this show, and he sold me this computer. He's a video gamer, and he has grown up with anxiety and depression, and he decided to rap about it. His first album, Therapy, has reached people in 15 different countries so far.
That's awesome.
I know.
It is.
So, and I asked him a little bit about like why he started doing this and stuff. He said he went through a lot of this stuff thinking he was alone and no one was like him until a certain friend told me about his depression, which ended up being similar. At that point, he realized he wasn't alone. He wanted other people to make connections and make connections with them. So he started writing down his thoughts because he didn't necessarily want to share it with everybody out in the open. He started doing that around 8th grade, putting the words into songs and poems. He started rapping. He released them to the public his senior year. And he wants people to know that because they have depression and anxiety, it doesn't mean they're alone. Some of the tracks on his album, like, he's not afraid to get, like, real. They're called Gloomy Days, Take My Life. One of them is called Self, in parentheses, Hurt. But he ends it on a more positive note with a song called It's Okay. The lyrics are, it's okay to not be okay. So.
All right, Mr. Rogers.
That's good stuff.
I like it.
That is
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah.
So, before we really dive into all this, I do want to make a disclaimer. None of us here are doctors. None of us are professionals, nor are any of us authorized to give you medical advice.
I'm a doctor.
Any
destroyer.
kind.
That's what I am.
We have a general.
However,
We
are all crazy, and we can talk about our own personal experiences, but you should always seek professional medical help so you can lead a healthy and happy life. Now, with that being said, one thing that I do want to talk about in all seriousness before we get going, because we are going to have fun tonight, despite the tone of the show. No matter what is going on in your life, it is okay for you to be you. If you are feeling depressed, don't ever let anyone tell you, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, or why do you feel like that? What for? How bad could things possibly be? Your level of bad is always going to be different than somebody else's level of bad. Your level of personal trauma might be somebody else's best day. But the fact that it's your worst day, that means it's your fucking worst day. And it's okay for you to feel that way. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to have these anxious moments. But the trick is the secret, not the secret really, but is being able to not even, I don't even want to say overcome them, but embrace them. Use them, make them a part of you. Don't even try to get rid of them, because a lot of times you just can't. You can't get rid of the anxiety. You can't get rid of the depression. It's with you. It's a part of what makes you you. So embrace it and use how to make it work for you. Okay?
And that's the show.
Yeah, right.
And that's it. So
Done.
now,
Cut.
with that being said, I got a couple questions for the group. We'll start in Discordia as we usually do, so that way we'll give you all here in the pit an opportunity to think about your answers.
Yeah, we need some warm-up time.
Some warm-up time. That's fine. So the first one I've got for you, when you're feeling something, and we're going to start with general knowledge on this one, and also everyone, I want everyone to know as well, you are not in any way obligated to answer any of these questions. If some of these questions get a little too deep, if they cut a little too close, get a little too close to home, whatever, just pass. Just say pass. And as always, with the Circle of Nerds, our whole thing is educate, entertain, and empower. So what we want to do is empower and make people feel like this is a safe place for them to nerd out. And that's what we're doing here. So if you don't feel comfortable, then hit that pass button, and we will pass and move on, and there's absolutely no judgment in that, because sometimes there's some shit that I don't want to talk about, and that's all I do is talk about shit. So, general knowledge. If you want to pass on this, go ahead. So this is going to be for everyone. when you're feeling something coming on, something if you've been triggered, if you're starting to feel a panic attack, or you're feeling that depression starting to come on, are you able to recognize it? And if you are able to recognize, 'cause sometimes we can't recognize it. It just happens and it's just there, and then we don't know what the fuck is happening. But if you are able to recognize it, how do you maintain or regain control?
Well, I mean, recently I've been kind of getting into like meditations and stuff. So it's like when I start feeling really anxious or like the world's like crashing down on me, I just kind of like breathe through it and like remember that it's just one moment in a series of moments that'll continue on. And then if I think about that the rest of them will be better, generally they tend towards the better side.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. Daddy Lou, how about you?
So I guess when I've had anxiety in the past, it was usually pretty recognizable. I tend to have a lot of physical symptoms that go along with my mental symptoms, I guess. So it's usually pretty easy for me to recognize it. But in the past, it's been really hard to do anything about it. I tend to get caught in my thoughts a lot. More recently, and I say recently, specifically within the last couple of weeks, kind of not as my New Year's resolution. It's a bit more than that. I've been trying to do something about it, and what I do personally is I just I stop my thoughts, or I try and stop my thoughts, and I tell myself not now. And honestly, that's all I do. I just try and stop my thoughts and tell myself not now. And so far it seems to be working out okay. So
good. I want to throw the same thing to the folks here in the room, but before I do that, real quick, the one takeaway, if you take away anything from this, from watching the show this week, listening to the show this week, take this away: we're all still here. Everybody here in this room, on this podcast, in Discordia, here in the house, we're all still here. We haven't offed ourselves yet. I'm sure some of us have been pretty damn close, once or twice in our lives, at least, maybe even recently. But the point is, and the takeaway I want everyone to take away from this, is that we are still here. We're still learning ourselves. We're still growing, and we have made it. So whatever point you're at right now, no matter how low it is, you can get beyond it, because we have. All of us have. And that doesn't mean that we're stronger than you. We've just figured out different ways to cope that works for us. And we're going to try to help you to find that thing. If we can inspire you to find that one thing that helps you to make it to day 2, then I think we've done our job at that point. So now, throwing that same thing out here to the room, if anybody wants to just jump out, so when you feel something coming on, if you feel something coming on, how do you regain control? What is it that helps you to counteract those triggers?
So back when I was in early college, I was seeing a therapist for my panic attacks. And I would tell him, when they happen, I can't breathe, my heart races, all I can think about is the thing that scares me most. And I said, I can't get out of it. And what he told me was, there's a way to center yourself. You have to grab the closest physical thing. Touch it, feel it, like, what is it? Tell yourself, like, for example, I'm on a leather couch right now, so I'm touching a leather couch. It's leather, it's kind of soft, it's squishy, and it's essentially a distraction method to take your mind off of the thing that is owning your thoughts at that particular moment, because the lasting effects of the panic attack are none, but in the moment, they're the most intense thing that you're feeling. Insofar as depressive thoughts and anxiety thoughts, I don't really have much of a method for those, except to say that I've been very fortunate to find a doctor who worked with me to find a medication that worked.
Okay, good.
Before that, it was just miss a lot of days of work and stay in bed.
Yeah.
There's no shame in it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Just do what you have to.
That's it. Anyone else?
I don't know. I just learned that,
everybody is on some degree of struggling, like every single person. And I think reminding myself too that I got a good group of people that are going through the shit with me, and we're all going through it together, and having that constant reminder that you're not alone in it, and embracing that fully. I mean, I moved here about a year ago. I had absolutely no friends. I'm a full-time caregiver for my parents. It's a lonely, isolating place. And I was very social, and I was the life of the party for a long time, and I became a hermit, and but I'm handling it way better than I would have like 10 years ago, because I've learned how to manage things better, breathing, walking away when it's getting to be too much, hopefully never getting into a hate trance, because that's a really bad place to be, because mine tends to manifest into anger. And when I'm angry, everyone around me feels it, and it's a really unhealthy headspace to be in. And I meditate now. I exercise on a daily basis, and I love being in nature and hiking and reading, just finding healthy distractions. And when you need to reach out for help, do it. Like, I don't give a shit about pride. I don't, like, that's not healthy. That's not where people should be. Being strong is asking for help when it's too much for you to handle, whether it's professional help or just calling a friend and being like, I gotta talk. You should never, ever feel shame from that, ever.
Correct. There's always someone. Like you,
Yep.
I had recently directed a musical, and one of the kids in the show, one of the youngest kids in the show, showed up to rehearsal pretty upset one day, and we did some exercises that seemed to get taken to a little bit worse of a place. And so I touched base with him at a break, and I said, hey, you know, what's going on? And he just started pouring out of him just that he almost killed himself over the weekend, and he's talked to his mom and everything's okay, but there's, you know, he doesn't have anybody to talk to. And I just sat there, and I told the stage manager just to hold for 15 minutes, and I sat there and I talked to him. Like, there's always somebody, even if you don't think there's somebody. And I'm so glad that he talked to his mother, that he came to rehearsal and knew there were other somebodies there. You know, maybe not until we had that conversation, but then he had a whole room full of people to support him, even if they didn't subjectively get what was going on. And for me, I guess, to segue into my reaction to the question, or my response to the question, is I have PTSD, and it manifests very much as depression and anxiety, and it's kind of like pushed me into social anxiety in the past couple of years. And so that's been really difficult for me, because I've been an actor for 23 years, and so there's nothing you know, isolated about that at all. So it's been very odd to deal with. But in therapy, there's just a lot of DBT and CPT, and I'll tell you what these mean in a second, and ACT, and they're all different kinds of behavioral therapy that are really, really, really helpful. And you don't have to go through these programs to actually get this information. So dialectical behavioral therapy is super awesome. Cognitive processing therapy is something that you can do with a trauma therapist specifically. That's not something you want to dig into on your own. And acceptance and commitment therapy, which is something that's helpful too. It's more based on metaphor than trying to change your brain. So there's some instructions that are for more cerebral people, like grounding, which is what you were talking about, Elliot. And there's lots of different ways to ground yourself. Mine, when I really couldn't stop a panic attack, was to go swimming in the kitchen. So you just put get like a gallon Ziploc bag, not the cheap ones. It has to actually work, because you fill it with water, and you put it in your refrigerator. And when you just cannot, none of the tools are working. I've pulled out all the things that my doctor told me to try. You go in the kitchen and you pull out the bag and you shut your face in it, and it's like diving into cold water, you know. And it immediately, and they'll tell you, you know, that extreme temperature changes really can help. Walk outside if it's cold or go outside if it's warm. You know, it really helps to kind of shift that. So for me, it really is a lot of grounding. It is a lot of moment to moment. Everything is temporary, which is so fucking hard to remember when you're in the midst of it, man. Right? Like,
seriously.
God damn it, it's so hard. Like, you're not sitting there going, "Oh, it's gonna be fine tomorrow." You're like, "I'm gonna melt into a fucking puddle before tomorrow." But everything is temporary. I liked what you said when you said "not now." Who was that? We just met.
That was Daddy Louie.
Yeah, that's not now. It's great because you just have to distract your brain from that constant circuitous chatter of bullshit. And the best ACT sort of thing, acceptance and commitment therapy, gets me all jazzed. I'm certified in applied positive psychology. So I actually am certified to talk about such things.
Oh, well, shit, I didn't know we had a fucking expert on the show this week. Hold on, I'll redo the disclaimer. So the discllaimer, none of us are doctors. We're not qualified to do shit except for Cory. Okay.
No, I'm not a therapist. But the tools, though, are very real. So it's, just so you know, I'm not, like, just talking bullshit. One of the best metaphors that I love out of acceptance and commitment therapy is to remember that you are not your thoughts, which is something that's really easy to say and not easy to process. But the metaphor helps. So if you think about yourself as the sky, and everything that happens to you and every thought that goes through your head is a piece of weather. So it's a breeze going by, it's a hurricane, it's a tornado, it's a nice spring day, it's a this or a that. But the sky is always the same. It does not change, right? It's always there. That's you. You are the sky.
Right.
You are that, not tactile being. What?
Your constant.
Yes, it's the constant. And that's, if you can't connect to your constant, that's a really good way to try to figure that out, because centering, it all gets so platitude-y. All the things that people are saying, "Oh, it's only temporary and it'll get better."
It's happening now.
Exactly, right. You're telling me, okay, it's gonna be okay. You're not telling me how.
Right.
So the
tangible plans.
Exactly. Yeah. Give me some plans. But there is a you that isn't affected by any of that. There just is. There's a you that exists. That all of that stuff is subject to you. Which is hard to remember when you're in the thick of it, or under a pile of pillows and blankets.
To build on what you and Louie were talking about, my therapist mentioned thought stopping. But if you say, "Don't think about a pink elephant," "Don't think about a pink elephant," "Don't think about," but thought replacement as well. So rather than like "not now," like distract yourself or consciously think of something else to get that out of your mind. Or there's squared breathing is another thing. So I feel like I know a lot of like tools, but I don't necessarily do them in the moment. So also
that's the hard thing.
I know. So also I'm a codependent. So when I'm feeling down and depressed and anxious and whatever, I'm just like reaching out to people like, "I need you," or "I need you to need me right now," or so it's healthy, but it's not healthy because I'm like, I need people, but I'm also like socially anxious and all the things.
Hey, but you're right. Reaching out is better than not. I mean, absolutely.
Reaching out is better than not. There's a healthy way to do things and a not healthy way to do things.
Sure.
But remembering, but the not now, remembering to do that when you're in that moment is the hardest thing. You just have to go there.
I used to wear an elastic on my wrist so I could snap my wrist because I could not. Yeah. But that helped for a while.
Yeah, but I love all of the water thing and the feel this. What does it feel like?
The water,
Never heard those before. Yeah. Like
I've never heard of the water thing either.
I'm full of them, but I won't say it's easy to use them, and that's one of the things I'll teach you in the intensive IOPs. I was in 3 of them. What the fuck does it stand for?
Intensive
outpatient therapy. Thank you. After when I started to deal with PTSD, that's when I went through those programs, and it was it's outpatient, but you go for several hours a day for a certain amount of weeks.
Wow.
And so I learned a lot of that there, but ironically it was after I got certified in psych. So that was really fun. It doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Luca, how you doing?
He's just hanging.
I since I was young, I've always been like one of those people that I have always had to take everything on by myself. And I've always been like pushed out into the universe and just been like, go do this now. You know, setting the scene. I'm the shortest one on my dad's side, tallest one on my mom's side. I'm the darkest on my mom's side, lightest on my dad's side. So I was always like never the kid to be things. And my mom, like, she hated my dad, and I look awfully a lot like him. And so like I was always like this ostracized being. So I had to adult from a young age with all of the, you know, sexual abuse and the verbal abuse and all that other fun stuff. So it was a lot that I had to do. So I find myself in those moments having a bad habit of taking everything on by myself and not using any coping skills and not doing that. Because I've been in therapy for years, up until like 2 or 3 years ago. And I've also went to a behavioral school as well, growing up. So I understood and I retained a lot of the things that were being said, but there's just only me. And I have a really bad habit of just being like, I have to do this by myself. So there's not, like, no one's going to help me. No one's going to do this for me. And if I fall into this depression, like, you know, if I end up not having a house or whatever, like, that's on me and I have to do my own thing. And I feel like the reverse effect of that is letting it be okay for me to feel those things. And it's scary. And that is, I don't use it all the time. But that's I guess my coping mechanism with that is just letting myself feel that hurt and feel that intensity. And because I already have those tools, they're built in me. They have been there. It's just, I don't feel them enough. Like, there are people who I have known for years who say they love me, and I just stand there and I go, thank you. Or it just doesn't feel, I don't feel that. And I think that I've like disconnected, like have a distance between affection and love, because I feel like I can do that myself. And so when I get to those moments of like, I don't think anyone actually likes me, or like, I think I'm pushing everyone away, those are feelings that I need to feel. And
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
not only the bad ones, it's also the good ones. You know, there are times where people are like, I loved you on stage, and I'm like, I don't know what to say to this, because usually after I'm coming from a show, I'm going to another show, or I'm going to find a place to lay my head, or like, you know, so I don't have time to time to, in my brain, take it and accept that feedback from other people, and that love from other people, or that hatred from other people. Like, I don't let that soak into my body. And so sometimes I just have to let that be, and let that pierce me just a little bit. And that's how usually I cope with that, like, depression and those anxiety feelings. I mean, just not even that long ago, I've just been like, life has been really kicking me in the face, in various different ways. And it's not like I haven't been through this before, but it just feels brand new, because you hit that moment of the top of your cycle of anxiety and depression where you're like, I got this shit, I can do this.
Yay.
And then all of a sudden something happens, something else happens, and another thing and another thing and another thing.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
it's a stack. It's a whole stack.
Yep.
And you're sitting there with your table full, and you're like, I don't know what to do. And usually people piece parts by piece. I throw the table out the window and I walk away from it and burn the house down. And that's what I do. And in the moment, I don't care about ruining relationships. In the moment, I don't care about like how this person feels about me or my reputation or whatever. I just care about the next step for myself. And then I sit there and I wonder why I don't get texts. And I wonder why people don't check up on me and call me. And I'm like, I'm turning into my mom. And I'm like, and those are the moments where I'm like, if someone comes up to me and knocks on my door and cusses me out, I need to feel that. Because your experience of me was very negative, because I was in a negative place, projecting that onto everyone around me. And I come off as like this very bubbly spirit, but underneath there's just like a lot of things that I haven't sorted out. And I'm expecting, my expectations of another person is just to handle it. And just to be like, that's okay, this is me, this is who I am. And that's not okay. And that's like one of those toxic traits that I hold on to myself. But yeah, I there are moments where I reflect on days or just past months or weeks and whatnot, and I sit in it and I feel it. And I use like, I loosely want to say meditation, but I definitely want to say manifesting. Into the next relationships and even the past relationships that I've had with people, and manifesting just good vibes. But I've had a point, and I'm catching myself, especially recently, where I'm manifesting things that have a what's the word? That have like a gimme back feel.
Sure.
That's like if I do this.
A return
Let
on
this happen.
investment?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Alright.
that's not the way that works. But I've it's like one of the I feel like I'm stuck in that one cycle of the death cycle where one of the parts is bartering.
Bargaining.
Yes, bargaining.
5 stages of grief.
Yes.
Denial, anger,
And I
bargaining,
feel like there are
depression.
exactly.
I'm just
Acceptance.
bargain a
And-
lot.
Yeah. And it's like, well, if I do this, then this will happen. And if I give you this, or if I put myself out there like this will happen. And I get my expectations set high, and it just, then I get sad.
Oh, I
and
feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Bones. I
Yeah.
feel that one.
Putting like plans into place in your head, and you're like, if I
Yep.
do these things,
Yep.
this is gonna happen.
This
You get
will
built
happen.
up, you get excited, and
Yeah.
none of that ever
Happens.
happens.
And
What,
that's-
what was that?
Oh. And then that puts me in the
She's
cycle
gone.
again
Yeah.
of being like, well, I'm gonna do this shit by myself, no matter what happens. And then I bulldoze situations.
Oh God.
And
It's
I
so
just-
easy.
It's
so easy.
It's like there are moments where like shit's going awry, and I'm like, you know what? I can walk out. I can leave. I can physically take myself up and shove myself out, and I don't have to deal with this anymore. I will probably never see these people again. I probably don't even need to. They probably don't want to see me again. So I'm like, I can just go, and everything will be okay. Wash my hands, call it a day. And then there are moments where I'm like, ooh, I did that. Ooh, I did it bad. I'm like, I didn't mean, like, this is something that I didn't mean to do, and it's not me running away, it's me putting on my armor and
It's protecting
really,
yourself.
yeah, it's like I have to I have to feel like I'm standing in my truth
Yep.
and walking away with my head held high, because if I don't, they're going to see me cry, and I don't want that. And that's showing emotion is something that was literally beat out of me. So like those are just the things that I can't let happen. And if I'm controlling my life, if I'm the controller of my life, I can't have someone like penetrating this part of me and being like, and now we're gonna go. I can't. It's something in me that just won't allow myself.
You did say penetrating.
If you heard me earlier, I also in that like whole thing, I also said lemon farts.
Lemon
So
Yes, so
I
we're just
did.
gonna put all those things together.
Yeah, it was penetrating lemon farts.
Now, you know what?
Oh god.
I
And
have
this is
been-
how we deal with
Excuse me,
This is
depression.
how we
We
deal
say,
with it.
Wait,
Humor is really the best
I just
mechanism.
want to say this. Can Ace, if you're listening to this, can your next album please be penetrating lemon farts? Please put that in there for me.
We need
I
a
do drag.
soundboard.
We have one.
So I will
I
definitely
mean, like
perform to that.
making a soundboard.
That's
like,
Oh, of this-
amazing.
yes.
Oh.
So Jake
Also,
Quellen.
you almost just made me cry.
I was
And you
watching
know
this
exactly
whole
why.
moment
Oh,
happen.
that was because I have seen you in that moment, literally that moment.
Yep.
And I felt like you were talking to me just now, dude.
Like me and my roommate, I love my roommate so much. His name is Fred. I hate him, but like I love him. And like, cause he's a roommate.
Roommate.
And I love him so much. But there are just moments where he's a talker. He likes to talk and likes to do this and just like, and I don't want this. Like, I don't want it. There are just moments where like, we when I first got to this house, I came back from LA and I had absolutely no monies and nothing, and no monies, yes. No monies. And I remember the first couple nights that I slept on his couch, and I just like slipped into this really, like, I've never had that cycle happen before, but it was like this really crazy cycle of depression. And he sat me down like a couple weeks after and was like, you radiate toxicity when you are in this space.
Wow. That's a conversation.
And yeah.
Wow.
And like,
I mean,
no,
it is.
like 100%, he like looked at me and was like, these are things that I feel, and you are in this space. And it's a tiny apartment. It's a 3rd bedroom in Cleveland Heights. And he's like, you command a space. That's just your aura. And when you do that, you are burned, especially when you're not having that good of a day, you're burning everything down. And I feel that. Yeah, it hit me, and I was like, I don't mean. He's like, I know you don't mean to do it. Right. This is just what happens when you are in a space. Like, this is just what, like, you are pushing everyone away because no one can take this flame.
But you need someone to be able to tell you that.
Oh yeah.
And you need someone to be able to tell you that out of love and care and compassion. Not like, dude, you are fucking a toxic motherfucker. Yeah. No, it needs to be like, you are radiating toxicity, but to help you. Right. To make you, because we're not.
Jesus.
And it's not
because we're not aware of it. Most of the time when we're doing this shit, when we're in that mode, we have no idea. We need someone to, like, you know what? Snap you back in. We're not
in those moments.
It's like we are though. We're in our heads, but we're so deep in our heads that we're not aware of. Right.
You need somebody who can see through that and go, I know who you really are. You're not storming off and burning the fucking house down.
You're hurting.
You're gonna hang out with me, and we're gonna talk about this for a minute, even if I think you might throw something sharp at me afterwards. This isn't a subjective conversation at all.
Wait,
seriously, I just love this dude so much. So one quick thing is that I've watched you grow into a person who can actually say that about himself. Yeah. So like I've known Luca for
no. This is
I don't have
this is 7 years. I don't know. It's been a long time, a handful of years, and you were so shut down for such a long time, but we could all see you when you were on stage, and so we were like, oh, that guy. And then we just watched you kind of open up, and the fact that you're sitting here right now sharing this with this group of people, being self-aware and also with your own heart trying to make sure that people know who you really are in there, like, sorry.
I don't know what y'all talking about. I'm a bad bitch.
Yeah.
I'm a bad bitch. I don't know what you're bad. I'm a bitch.
It's such pretty music. It's so pretty. Oh, damn.
So and that's why, you were sitting over there through most of the show, listening, quiet.
Yep.
So I had to find out what was going on. And I'm glad we did.
There was something stewing in there. It was
glad we did.
Cooking a little bit. It was simmer.
All right.
Thank you for sharing.
Jake Wellen, you said you've got something, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
No, I just wanted to add the ace quote that I didn't.
I thought you were gonna read us a poem or something.
No, depression drives our mind to think irrational thoughts we wouldn't normally think.
Yes,
that is like literally like the description on his Facebook page.
Yes, and they tell you,
I wrote it down, and I was like,
trauma, like PTSD, is a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances.
It's a crazy thing when you can't trust your own thoughts.
It is.
Well, and and I understand, like, people who are very religious, they will say depression is a demon, and if you're not religious, you're just like, you know what, that's just weird. But honestly, it doesn't really matter what side of the religious spectrum that you fall on, because if you think about it, depression attacks first. It attacks the one thing that will crush depression. The one thing. So, like, for me, it was art. When I draw, when I paint, I'm zenned out. I'm in my happy place. Nothing can hurt me. Nothing can touch me. But why is it that when that motherfucking depression demon hits me, that's the last thing I want to do is draw or paint. I just want to, like, lay down and eat something, or, like you said, be under the pile of pillows and covers and everything like that. So that's great that he said that, because that's the first thing that depression will take everything that you love, shit on it, so you don't do that. That way it can just stay and live longer inside your body.
Joy and hope go
there's
first.
A lot of
they go first.
There's a lot of like trauma with the church that I have that I cannot. But what brought me out of it was this stupid comedian. This comedian, she's also a drag queen. But she said something really offhanded. But it stuck and it punched me in the face. she said that she said it's crazy to me how everyone has like their different Jesuses but the same devil. And when I'm thinking in my and I was like, there are moments in the church and in the quote unquote word that really like stuck out to me, because mind you, I was also in foster care for a very long time, and all of these foster parents that I had, like, they all practice very different things, and in my lifespan I was in like a good 27 homes, and I was with especially with a Jehovah Witness family who practices Jehovah Witnessism. I don't know how to say it.
Latter-day Saints?
No, that's the
Mormons.
Mormons.
No,
That's the Mormons.
Right, the Mormons.
Oh, the
but-
Mormons.
Yeah. So, and they would
I went to school.
they would bring me to a meeting.
The hall.
That's what they call it. Yeah, the hall
Yeah.
meetings. And it was very, very uncomfortable. And there were like moments of my childhood that were like bleeding out into everywhere. And I just remember sitting there and just like crying, like thinking about like my first rape that happened in church, and like thinking about like the things that happened. And so like and I like to skew away a lot from religion. But it's funny because I do drag, and all I do is like put upside down crosses on my body. I like
You know what
every
we call
time.
that? Process.
Exactly.
Processing.
And so I had to like cope with the people who are around me, because you know we do theater, like we do drag, like I do drag, like I perform, and so there's a lot of people around me who have their own like guides or like people that they look up to, or ideologies that they are into, and so that I think that also played a part in why I feel that I am the only one that can do this myself, is because like I don't want like a whole group or a church or a person telling me what to do. Like I've never had that. Like I don't need that. I've been without that for a very long. So that to me, like I couldn't. I can't.
I need people always telling me what to do.
and that's
No,
the thing. No, that's the thing. Like
That's why they get along so well. No, just kidding.
And I didn't know how to like cope with those things, because
Yes.
my friend, like my roommate, he is an attachment. Like he loves people. And when we are in the same room together, or even in the same house together, he is up under me 24/7. And I'm a person, the way my household worked, I would not talk to my mom for a month, or my brother for like a good couple of weeks. And it's not because we hated each other. We did. We just didn't, there was just nothing for us to say. And so talking about my, like the issues and my traumas and all these other things have never been a thing for me, because I'm black and I grew up in a very black family. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I told everyone I'm black. I'm so sorry. I'm like so sorry. I have to go to apology tour now. Like, oh my God. Where's my concealer? No. But no, like I just. So it was not
Therapy.
it was brought up to me like not to talk about those things, because I was considered white. It was considered Caucasian. It was like me cutting myself, or me like going, I guess trigger alert, trigger warning. But like me doing these things to myself was considered something that I should not do, because it was not a part of the culture. Which is very funny to me, because in Jamaica, way back, men were taking care of the women and the children, and women were going out and getting the jobs and being like the very stronghold and like on the family. So that never really clicked with me. So through life, when I was doing theater and all of these things and these facets where people are like sitting in circles and sharing their feelings about a show that they're only going to do for like a good 2 months and never see each other again, that made absolutely no sense to me. I'm sorry. It doesn't, like, it didn't make sense to me at the time, but now I know, like, this is like a tiny therapy session that I can just like say whatever I want and have no judgment. And like, even when I do drag, like this is my moment. I don't care if you're here or paying for the door. I'm going to dance. Like I'm going to do this. And I think that's in all our different facets of what we do, whether it is just sitting down and playing games all day and feeling fulfillment with that. I think that that is also an extension of who we are as people and also our coping thing. And if that is the thing that we don't want to do when we get in that cycle of depression, that is how you know that is a thing for you.
Which is
well said.
twisted is that? Yeah.
Well said.
When we did Godspell, that was like therapy session every.
Whoa.
I was literally thinking of that actually.
We would check in every night.
Felix would sit us down and just be like, we'll do a little one-sentence check-in. How are you? What's going on with your day? So that we knew how to treat each other. Because if you're having a great day, it's fine. But if you had a shit day, your castmates knew to be sensitive to your feelings.
But knowing that I could go to rehearsal and we were going to have a check-in and I could just talk about my shit day for 5 minutes and know that this group of dozen people would know that and be there with me, and then we would create some art for the next couple hours, it was incredibly empowering.
It's having that trial.
That's what
I've never been closer to a cast than I had with the kind of cast that sits down and checks in with each other. I got spoiled, and I tell every director I work with, if you don't do what Felix does, we're going to have trouble. You need to check in with your cast. Obviously, you don't want to do that at, like, MGP, which has, like, casts of 100, because that would take most of the rehearsal.
But there are definite group ways to do that. Like, I won't direct anything without doing that.
Absolutely.
Kringles, a musical, a play,
I was always late though. I never got to
You
check
always
in. I never got to check in.
Check-in time and tree time.
But it's about building that tribe.
Yeah.
It's about, building that tribe
Humans are
and
tribal.
I mean, we're still
and being a part of it.
We're still friends.
Absolutely.
Felix is now in my Dungeons and Dragons group.
Yes.
Aww.
Well, me and my friend do this thing, and I was telling you this earlier, I think. We do these, we do 3 days. It's 3 days out of the week, whether it's we do them when we can. But it's supposed to be 3 days out of the week, random days that we just need it. Whether it's that one person or just me or both of us. But me and my friend Fred, we do a daunting evening, which is not daunting. It's not daunting. It's just the way you say it. That's what makes it the name. And we have this. It's a daunting evening.
Oh yes.
And that's one of those days. It's during the evening time, and we sip wine, talk about that's basically just manifesting what we want our lives to be and what we thought our past lives were going to were. And we have these long robes and these big
goblets.
wine glass, and just walk around the house.
Oh my god!
We do a gay in the city where it's us early morning, doing weird brunches.
Why are you not recording this or podcasting that, or can you come back?
Haven't been there yet. That's
okay,
why.
so I would like to produce that, please. I'm
He
gonna.
already has an audience.
Yeah.
I am
And
captivated.
we do
Said robes and goblets. I'm 100% there for that. Yeah.
And we do a Sad
bring
Boys
my own
night,
robe.
which
Sad Boys night.
Yeah, we
Yes.
I make the best playlists. And
He
so I
really
have this,
does.
I have these
They're so good.
I have these playlists on Spotify, and one of them is called The Fall. They're all The Fall something something. And it's just because me and him are Pisces, and it's something that you just fall back in water to. Shut up, okay? It's just something that you fall to, and you drown in water. I hate you.
See, you won't drown if you use a
anger's
Ziploc
manifest.
bag. Bringing it around. Ziploc bag
But you
swimming in the kitchen.
You gotta get the good kind.
Oh
The
my
good
God.
kind.
the good
That
kind,
zips
yeah.
shut.
That
Okay.
doesn't leave
What
You
about
can
a
go
zip dry?
swimming in the kitchen.
So
Yeah.
on that note, Jake Welling, thank you very much. So we're gonna wrap this up. We've already gone
Party lemons.
20 minutes over, but
Yeah,
Let it
perfect.
happen.
Anyway.
but you know what? And that's why I wasn't trying to wrap it up earlier. But I'm very very glad. So.
Push it real
We
good.
are going to be wrapping this up, but
don't
before
want
we go,
that.
I want to thank our guests today. I want to thank you guys for your courage, 100%. It's not easy to talk about this shit, at all. So thank you guys so much for coming out and for joining us
Anytime. Yeah.
and doing the things that you do and for being you. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? What else am I going to do on a Friday
Here,
night?
if you didn't have us here.
Let's
What
all
else?
take a moment to thank the farting lemon.
Yes.
Thank you, Farting
Yes,
Lemon.
Thank you,
too.
Farting
Thank you,
Lemon.
Farting
The farting
Lemon.
lemon.
Yes.
Also, thank you, Ace. I love you. Are you single? And do you want this?
All right, so
Shameless. Shameless.
So next week we're going to be talking about the glorious Star Trek fandom. So if you are a fan of Star Trek, we're going to be talking about the fandom itself, not necessarily Star Trek, but the
Okay.
fans
Oh,
that
alright.
create Star Trek
I like
and
Star
make it great.
Wars.
That's fine.
But
So,
like the TV show.
so again, thanks to our very special guests. Thanks to our cast and crew. Thanks to you, our viewers and listeners. We appreciate you for that. If you are a member of the Inner Circle, stick around. We're about to go there next. So our valued and beloved Patrony, please stick around. We are going to be talking about, all the things. We're going to be talking about bullying, racism, sexism, ageism, and gender equality in the Nerdyverse.
Cannot wait. Yes!
All of the things. So this was kind of like a fun sharing session. The next segment is going to be just us pissed off, fucking just. Yeah, it's just going to be.
Holy shit.
Yeah, holy shit. So are you guys going to stick around for that?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I
Sure,
feel like
why
you are.
not?
All right, yeah, why
Hell
not?
yeah.
What else are you going to do tonight, right?
I mean, I
Nothing.
don't know.
Masturbate and go to sleep.
Really, he's asking us if we're staying, but he's locked us in here.
That's
Exactly.
fair. That's fair. So I had more
Funny that
questions
you
for you
mentioned
guys
that.
about this stuff,
You're
but you
doing
know
that.
what? Forget about it. We'll talk about it later.
You can ask the.
God.
All right,
Yeah,
so
you can.
we'll ask next
I
time.
were.
So guests, thank you very much. Viewers, listeners, thank you guys very much. Patrony, stick around. We've got lots more to go on your
like I
Cosmic
missed
Disaster Show. We'll see you next week. Bye.
I'm the only one who can do it right.
I forgot to say.
Camperley?
I forgot to say. So, my catchphrase.
masturbate.
So, if no one does
Catchphrase.
anything nice for you, make sure you do something nice to yourself, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Yes.
My God.
Oh, yeah, y'all are in here
It
now.
stopped, and she kept saying,
All right.
"What's that noise? Did that
that
noise go
Yeah.
away?"
So, wait, are we breaking, or you guys just want to go into the next bit?
It looks like Luca decided to head upstairs.
He'll be back.
I was like,
He'll be
But
back.
like, I'm good.
And
You're
I'm
good?
like,
All right.
My mom has
my
Alzheimer's, so I kind of made her.
Hey,
like,
Tommy's
"No, Mom, you
Sophia and I are logging out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your
It's fine.
time.
It's
I made
probably
sure
not
that there
a
was
lot
no
of
one
fun for
there,
you. I mean, we
so-
were gonna move to you because I wanted to ask you guys about the
We never got
the
to
bullying
the second
and-
question.
I know.
no, there was no.
I'm like, oh shit.
I actually had 3 questions.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well.
But you know what? It was you guys were doing your thing and talking. I didn't want to interrupt.
Sorry, Lou.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
Louis,
actually sent you a Facebook message, but you must have been like completely enthralled in conversation.
well, no, you haven't seen the setup. That's a complete. There's like lots of buttons and flashing lights and things I have to monitor. So
He's very
I was gonna say Sophia and I were saying in the chat that you should just make it one giant episode and release it to everybody because the conversation and what we were talking about was so good.
yeah, I'm actually considering that. I'm considering that as well. So we've got like another 30 minutes we're gonna do on this, and then we might just release the whole thing. So we'll see what happens. But bullying, racism, sexism, ageism, and gender equality. If you guys wanted to weigh in on that, cool. If you guys need to bounce, that's cool too.
Yeah, I'm like passing out and my headphones are dying, so
All right.
I'm gonna have to
No
go.
worries. No worries. All right, I'll just go ahead and kill Discord then.
Have a good night.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Roger. You guys have a good one. I'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
She sounds like a robot.
That's okay. It was a rough connection anyway. All right.
I just
So-
want you to know, like, literally, you can invite me back any week, and I will gladly come in. Cause
I
this
would
is
also
wonderful.
like that.
Well, sit your little cute ass down and let's finish the show.
You didn't say nothing but words.
Mm-hmm.
Just one? I don't think.
Just
one.
I was gonna say you wanted
Pretty
to
sure
sit
there's
right on
been
Do you
more
want
that.
to
than
talk about this? Do you want to switch?
No.
Are you tapping out, Jake Quellen?
No, I'll
You sure?
stay.
How
But
fucking dare you?
She's gonna. Stay
I'm
there.
racist though.
Everyone's a little
No, hang
racist.
on,
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on.
We
I
are
can't
all
stay.
racist.
We're all racist.
We are all
Everyone's
racist.
Everyone's a little bit.
Everyone's,
Not
everyone
racist.
is more than a little
That's
bit
true.
racist.
All the white people
I
in the
don't
room
see
are racist.
colors.
I mean, really.
How's the song,
Oh,
Jackie?
okay.
Jackie, how's the song go?
Don't do it.
Yeah, they don't like
Do
it
it.
when I do it.
I
It's-
love it. Go ahead.
It's racist. You're impersonating an Asian person with a thick accent. It's racist.
The song itself about everyone being a little
No,
bit
here's the
racist
thing.
is
The
racist.
woman singing it actually sings it that way because she has to. That's how she sings it. But, like, to imitate her, in my humble,
Is racist.
somewhat educated opinion, is racist, yes.
That's fine. That's fine. So what we're talking about? Bullying, racism, sexism, ageism,
Hey.
and gender equality, and specifically in the Nerdyverse. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff going on in the world, obviously. I think the vast majority of people who are here in the room with us today, I think we are all on some level nerds. We all get into some nerdy shit. And,
Nerd alert!
Nerd alert.
Yeah.
and
I'm a nerd.
have we all experienced in some way some form of bullying in terms of your fandom, in your nerdery, you know, the things that you love. And one thing that I've always found curious, especially within the African American community, it is, because you had mentioned this earlier when you were talking about the cutting, there being a nerd and being a person of color is frowned upon within the black community.
Here's a face.
I mean,
face right there.
Is that, I mean, and there's this stereotype within the black community that says you cannot, that's for white people. White people are nerdy. That's, you know, other people are nerdy. Despite the fact that we have these amazing things like BlurredCon. You've got black nerds, Blurreds. They have BlurredCon every single year in Washington, D.C. You've got the Urban Otaku Club right here in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, that is it's an entire group of right. So, you know, so that is just a whole group of people of color loving anime and celebrating their anime fandom. But at the same time, they are looked down upon by people within their own culture.
Oh yeah.
And you've dealt with this.
Oh, absolutely. There are moments where I'm always code switching.
You have to.
Always.
You almost have
And
to
it
now
is
to survive. You
tiring.
almost have to.
It is tiring.
Would you
there are-
explain code switching? Because
Yes,
we have viewers and listeners who may not be aware of
I'm
what code
sorry,
switching
that's
is.
a Caucasian.
No, that's not.
No, it's
See, that's
not.
racist.
It's
That's racist.
No,
Okay,
it's
so
not.
now that
It's
I've already-
not.
I know,
it's not.
I know it's not.
prejudice.
I know.
It's prejudice and or discriminatory. You're welcome. Like, code switching is when you are around a group of people, you are portraying a different. I like to say a different part of yourself, or a different thing that you think you have to be.
White people would say more acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. More acceptable, more whitewashed, or, you know, just more colorful or less colorful, depending on who the people you are around. And especially in the work that I do, around my family, I have to dress a certain way, or I have to talk a certain way while I'm with everyone that is here. I am speaking in my American accent, but when I get around my family, it is totally different. Okay, it's just because I'm black, and so
No, just a little mood music.
but yeah, so when that is happening, it's code switching is tiring, but do you know how hard it is being told that you are too black for something?
Literally no one in this room does.
I know you don't, but I'm just like, I have been doing theater.
Can I
I've been doing.
sympathize?
Yes, but
I've been doing theater since I was 4, and being told in every audition that I am too black, that I cannot do A, B, and C because of the way that I come off, or I come to the audition doing this, so they automatically off the bat.
Or even
Literally
just not
something
casting roles
that you cannot change.
Exactly.
And how many roles have I lost out on in my life because I'm tall?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it's
taller, right? I'm taller than the male lead. I
Yeah.
can't play opposite him
Yeah.
because it
Nope.
looks weird.
But
I look like
Like,
a child.
what do I do?
And
right.
You would
Like the
think
voice of
you
a
would think
35-year-old.
you would think that you went home and you talk to your mom or your dad or whoever, and they are able to like look at you and accept you. But because I decided to wear flannel on my waist, or because I decided to listen to Pink instead of Buju Banton, or because of these things, I am considered lesser than you. Especially I don't know any other culture, but I in depth, but especially Jamaican culture, we make it a point to, you know, if you are a man, you are a man. Like, there is no fucking any other person or like being with any other person else than a woman. And it's hard to grow up listening to music that says kill gays. It's hard to grow up listening to music that you so love and attaching yourself to a culture that says you should die on sight. I recommend, it's not necessarily a good one, but it's a documentary, it's a Vice documentary, and it shows in depth about trans women and men in Jamaica and the shit that they have to go through on a daily basis. And while I was in Jamaica, like being a young ass kid, you know, who doesn't know anything about the world and is just like flailing around, like singing Britney Spears lyrics, I got my ass beat 24/7, like switches, irons, ironing boards, bark off of trees. Like, it was literally every day instilled in me that I had to be the certain type of person. And there was one moment in my childhood and also in my teen years where I was just like, so I'm not thugging. I'm not out here, like, you know, with my, like, belt around my, like, you know, the pants sagging and, like, trying to shoot up people. Like, you should be lucky that I'm here in the house making music or doing something. But the expectation for my mother was to do those things. Like, she wanted to, I feel like, and not to project, but my experience of her was it being very, this is what I wanted you not to do. I wanted to have that moment with you of talking about girls or contraception or getting them pregnant. Like, I feel like her expectations, she wanted that so bad. That's what she couldn't get from me, so she got from her little brother.
Is there a pressure? Would you say is there a pressure to live the stereotype? Is there a pressure to, even if it's a negative, self-destructive stereotype, is there a pressure to live that stereotype?
To this day, there is not an hour that goes by that I am not thinking about, like, taking all my shit off, like being straight ish. I don't know. Like, there are, like, I don't know what that is. But like,
it's okay. How I get it.
It's just,
like,
like there's a moment where I just want to rip off my skin because I don't feel like I am the top tier of what the expectations for me were. And it is such a like, it hits my chest heavy. And I feel like, my grandmother used to say this all the time because she obviously knew and she was very accepting. But she said, if you didn't have asthma, you would definitely have a brick on your chest 24/7. And my mom used to say all the time, like, you're black and you're a man and you're also part of the LGBT spectrum. What do you want from me? There's nothing that I can give to you. You already put yourself out there, so take those bullets. And especially from my own community, like, there are times where, you know, I mean, people shout, like, black people shout out Black Lives Matter all the time, but that's not what you really want. You want,
it's a specific black life that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. And they fail to realize that there are gay women, black gay women and black gay men that started that organization. So it just doesn't hit me right. Like, the people that are shouting that you shouldn't be like this and who are Bible thumpers continue to spread, like, all of these things. Like, you took one page in the Bible, that isn't worth a life. I don't think that is.
Agreed.
And I don't understand why you think that is. Because if that's the case, then you shouldn't be wearing polyester or, like, I don't understand. Like,
you should not be playing. You should not be playing with a football.
Exactly.
Like,
and that's not my gay showing.
That's not my straight showing.
It's a lot of pressure. I mean, every time I put on my drag makeup or just any type of theater, anything, like, it's my war paint. And I especially get a thick skin or a thick, sensitive skin when I'm doing shows and stuff like that, because not only am I out here, like, I have been on so many auditions where it's just me and 3 other black people. And we've been on several auditions with each other. We might as well have carpool together because I see them everywhere. And it's the same reoccurring people. And, like, I've gone to auditions where I have thought I've aced it. Like, I've gotten it. And, you know, you can't file the director on anything. But I don't get it because of the color of my skin or because the one thing that I said while I was off stage to another person was too flamboyant or whatever. So I continue to get stuck in these roles that are secondary, but still good. And so I'm just like, there's nothing really here for me. And so I think that's why drag came up for me, because not only can I write my own narrative and make my own self and make my own shows and make my own flyers and be in control of these things, but I can also just, like, have my own voice, and I don't have to continue to read off this paper, and I continue to do my shit, and I don't need the African American community beside me to do that, because I can do that on my own. You know,
But it sucks that they're not beside you. That's the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
it's infuriating. I cannot imagine at all how it is for you. But I just can't. I
do voguing. And if no one knows, voguing is a dance style based on the stylings of posing from a Vogue magazine, popularized by Benny Ninja. And that is the type of dance that I do. That is also the type of dance that I teach. I am certified in voguing. You're welcome. I'm also at the voguing house. And so I was told by a bar, not too recently. I mean, it was like a year ago.
This is how we met.
But yeah, yeah, it is. I was told by a bar that my expressive movements was not allowed on stage, and
What?
What
Wait.
the fuck does that even mean?
Hang on, it
And
gets
that-
better.
Wait, what?
And that
That's
vote-
like that
Better.
Ed Sullivan, like Elvis can't
Exactly.
switch his
Fucking
hips.
serious?
Yeah.
There's more
Okay,
to
okay.
it.
And
It gets
so
better.
my
Okay.
vote, like, my hair flipping will cause a liability problem. And
Liability
it was
for
a lot.
Are you
was
gonna
a
put
lot.
someone's eye out with
It
your
was-
hair? Is that
and
what they're
that's
worried about?
And that's what I'm saying.
Shut
But in every, like, and so my counter was, and I didn't say anything. I screenshot. I didn't put it on Facebook. But my counter to that is, drag came from like Latino and Black trans women and men who did this for a living. That was all that they did. The underground ballroom scene is what and mind you, I've been performing on that stage for a very long time. They know what I do. They've seen me before. And as a drag performer, in general, and that's not just for people of color, just in general, not only are they paying you less than $150 to put all this show together, you have to make your own flyer, put your own stuff out there, like book all these shows, pay the people in the show, pay your DJ. Like, it's a lot of things for only less than $150. Not only do your makeup, get new costumes, or fix up the same costumes that you have. So it's a lot. And to not get that that pat on the back from another African American person,
The support.
it's not there. And sometimes, and I make a joke about this all the time by doing the voice, but sometimes that drunk white lady at my party who wants to touch my wig is the safe haven for me. Sometimes that is just what I have, like, that's what I can aspire to do at some moments. Like, that is, I'm glad that I gave you enough love and enough, light on this stage to take home and gab about on Facebook to your friends. Like, that's all,
So let me ask you this. So in the current cultural climate, I guess, everybody is, talking about, being woke or waking up, and, and understanding and being, at least more sympathetic, because you can't really understand what somebody else goes through. Not truly, because, they say walk a mile in someone. You can't. You can listen to them and sympathize with them, but would
Especially
you?
not when it comes to race.
Especially
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Exactly.
No, not at all.
I actually just on a note for that is I kind of want to be Elliot when I grow up, because they really know. If I ever have any question about a thing, I think about if you've told me that before. Like, if I have a question about what's PC or how to talk about any sort of like racially difficult moment, or what is how do people handle different pronouns, like I kind of like my brain goes back to Elliot. So it's really I was like, I want to be Elliot when I grow up when it comes to that kind of shit, because when you know all of it, you're so in the personally in the middle of everything, but like also just
I mean, it was already warm in here. Cory, I know I'm blushing.
Whoa. I don't know if I have music or anything. I don't have a button for that here.
No.
Do it.
All right. That's like, that was the closest thing I had to that. I don't think. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
nice. I don't sound like that.
I will say.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
When I'm coming, it's giggity. Oh.
I'll say this.
Holy shit.
When I was
Holy
younger,
shit.
Late on the button, but that's
it's here. When I was younger, I was very much the kind of person that every person in this room would now punch. Right?
Heard.
Like,
Yep.
you're right,
Mhm. I know you.
Yeah, I
Yep,
don't even
that's
have to-
me.
I don't even have to
I know
explain
it. Yeah.
right?
Ooh.
Like in college, I would say things that, meant I didn't have a lot of black friends for very good reason. The ones who stuck around probably figured like, oh, she's just trying to figure herself out. Because I honestly, I had a stick up my ass the size of a California redwood,
Oh.
right?
Ouch.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna.
But
We don't have an ouch
think
button.
once I stopped hating myself for liking girls, once I understood what transgender was, once I understood what all these different terms were, and once I understood that just because they aren't important to me doesn't mean they're not important to someone else.
That's the thing, man.
Right?
Yes.
Is when I was like, oh, these are important and I need to educate.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, and
I think you're probably right. I think that's really where it is, the compassionate educator. You know, somebody who can actually, instead of putting people in their place about shit and getting pissy about it, being able to say, hey, here's a gentle reminder, or a not so gentle reminder if you really deserve one.
Well, so now let me soapbox for a second. Now that you've lit upon this topic. So there's a church that I sing for over west of here, and I've been singing there for 13 years. I was 18 when I started there. I'm still there. And when I started there, I was straight. I was a girl. I had long blonde hair. I was dating dudes. I was not me.
Yeah.
I was just not me, right? And recently, they started employing pronoun stickers onto their name tags. Now, the week before they did that, they came to me and said, we're going to start doing that because some of the upper levels know that I am trans non-binary. And so I said to the pastor, I said, well, why don't I just come out to the congregation? I said, because I've been here 13 years. What are they going to do? Tell me I'm wrong? Mm-hmm. You know, like, what are you going to do? Yeah. I'm standing in front of you telling you, hey, by the way, this isn't just a phase. It applies to people who've been here for a long time. So I did. I came out this past Sunday. And
wow.
Yes, and I sat down afterwards. I promised the congregation I would.
That's good shit.
Down.
I don't have a button good enough for that. I don't have
yeah.
a button for that yet.
It was a thing. But I sat down with every member of the congregation who had questions. Because I said, listen, if you want to know, I'm here, because not everyone's willing to educate. Some people are going through a time period in their lives where they know they're trans or queer or something different, but they want people to just read their mind and accept it. And I've been there. I totally get it. But when you reach a certain point wherein you've had people yell at you enough to understand you need to be a little more empathic and compassionate, totally not calling myself out here, you start to say, okay, well, I want other people to be on the same level as me because these are people I respect. These are people I want to keep around. And so I'm going to make the attempt. I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, I'm trans non-binary. I no longer go by this name that you used to know me by. I no longer use she, her. My name is Elliot Sage. I use they, them. And if you have questions or this is difficult, please express that to me so I can help you understand.
Mm-hmm. I would also say to the people listening, just know that your LGBTQAI whatever friends are also most likely the catalyst for these things.
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Oh, all my queer friends are the reason I'm queer. Thank you, queer friends.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, yes. Bless you for putting up with my shit. I have friends that I've known since I was a child who were queer when I was a child, but we didn't have the words even to talk about it.
Right.
And so when this literally happened with Ellen, a friend of ours, me and Jake Quellen.
Yes,
Elle.
Jake Quellen. We all worked with her.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so you know, when she was very young, she had known these things about herself, and we had a mutual set of friends who were both girls who had been dating and are now married. But when they were younger, I was like, oh, they are such good friends. And Elle turned to me and was like, well, they're gay. And I said, so they're happy?
Yeah.
Because I was Catholic. And gay was a bad word in our house, you know? When I came out to my mother for the first time, I thought I was bisexual because I couldn't stop looking at titties.
I mean,
I still can't stop looking at titties. I can't
say that's not a reason I knew I was.
But I was like, okay, well, I need to tell someone so I can talk to someone about this. And when I came out to my adoptive mother, I was like, Mom, I think I'm bisexual. She was like, no, you're not. And just, that was it.
Yeah.
And I never talked to her again. Like, literally, she lost me as someone who considered her a confidant. So, like, this applies to parents of queer kids as well. If your kid tells you that they are queer, don't dismiss it. Even if you don't understand, thank them for telling you. Thank them for knowing that they could come to you. And tell them, if you don't understand, say, I need to do more research, but know that I love you and support you, because every single person in a trans youth's life, and this isn't even queer, this is specifically trans youth's life, every supportive person decreases their rate of suicide literally by 40%. You want to be that person for your kid.
And when it not trans specifically, but when it comes to sexuality, because that for me, I have no idea. But for being bisexual, the first time I tried to come out to my dad, I first asked him, if he had any gay friends, because I'm, a teenager. I'm not sure how to bring this up. My mom hasn't been around for a long time. I'm growing up with my dad. He was the first person to buy me tampons. Like, I don't know. I can barely manage being a woman at the same time as figuring out that I also like them. So I said something to her. Right? I mean, so I was like, hey, so we started having this conversation about homosexuality and whatever, and his first response was, well, I don't have any problem with gay people. It's just it's biologically deviant.
Oh my God.
So the chance of pregnancy is almost none, Dad.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. So I didn't even get to coming out to him at that point. I didn't even do it at that point. I waited until I was an adult, and at that point
he probably knew.
I'm sure he knew.
If he had gay friends, he knew.
Yeah, exactly.
He knew.
But to your point about the parents, that was that. Is don't tell your kid they're biologically deviant. I love you, Dad. With my dad and I get along really well now.
Good.
Because that's not something he's said in 20 years.
I want a shirt that says biologically deviant.
Yeah, right. That's
a good idea.
And then it's a new Circle of Nerds t-shirt. But you have to, you can't. The community part though is when you were talking about having people in your community who were openly gay, or at least being able to. My aunt was gay, and when she finally was with her girlfriend, and everybody told everybody, it was like, oh, this is kind of normal. Oh, all right, because I did not have the same experience of being Catholic and having the dogma on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But I had biologically deviant.
Well, I never.
I
I didn't ever want my mom to accept me. I just wanted her to give me space to be me.
Oh.
That is all I've ever wanted. And I feel like that's why I couldn't be in a house with her.
Yeah.
Because I just needed my own moment to just be like, I want to put on all of my sheets on my bed around my waist and walk around with a turban on my head and think that I'm Erykah Badu for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That is all I wanted.
Yes.
I wanted to roll up a little t-shirt or whatever, put it around my arms and act like I was in the Slave For You video with Britney Spears. That is all I wanted. That's all I've ever wanted. And
You're I'm figuring out managing my own expectations.
Yeah.
I don't need to manage yours at the same time.
And it was one of those moments where I was just like, that's what I need. And I want that for myself. And she didn't have the I feel like she didn't have the communication skills.
Oh, sure.
To valualize these things.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't either. So that creates that little that rift.
I feel like too the whole social expectation culturally probably then just didn't give her any sort of a support system to be able to respond to who you really are.
I'm actually starting to see threads drawn between these similar coming out and self-actualizing experiences. Our parents absolutely did not have the tools.
No.
To converse. Even if she had said, and I know this is a subpar response even on a good day, but even I respect you, but I don't agree. Even that would have been better than no, you're not, Right. And what is this? 15 years later, I'm never going to get the chance to tell her. I've been disowned twice now.
Yeah.
And they still don't have the tools.
No.
They don't know I'm trans. They don't know I've got a girlfriend.
I think the reason why my mom excluded, but the rest of my family has come to terms with it is because I normalized it myself. It wasn't something foreign to me anymore. It was drag wasn't foreign to me anymore. This was just it. This was just
I
me.
hear that
it
as
was
a thread too.
It was just fluid.
Like
it was
across
a,
this.
Made our own.
Made my own
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
Right.
I had to make my own space, like especially with like doing drag and music and like incorporating all of these things. Yeah.
You need your community.
Yeah.
For
Right.
that. Well,
So
okay.
with-
Sometimes
and with-
you have to be
yes.
selective about your community.
Yes.
I know where you're
No,
going.
yes, absolutely.
You do have to be selective
Absolutely.
about your community, but
There's, yeah.
sometimes your community finds you.
I mean, there's moments. I mean, especially I will call this out as this is kind of superficial in my book, but
Oh boy.
there are moments in the dating community in the LGBT culture where it is no fats, no femmes, no Asians, no dark skins, light skins to the front. Shit like that,
It's
which
racist.
really pisses me off
bet.
because there's a difference between discrimination and like preferences. And so, do you know how I have been on like phone interviews or like talking to like guys or whatever who one thought I was lighter than I was or thought I was tinier than I was.
Oh, that one guy, I was so
or-
pissed.
Yep.
He came into rehearsal one day or something, and he was like, "So I just got told this by this guy," and
Yep.
I was like, "Mama bearing all over the place."
And or like I was too dark for someone. Like I was
such bullshit.
being very transparent. I was in an abusive relationship for a very long time. This was actually around the start of Kringle. And
It's just all been in Kringle.
I mean, it's apparently I employ everyone.
Fuck Kringle, I'm just playing. But it happened during the start of my first year at Kringle, and I like to ride dick, so I was riding dick, and I was riding dick.
No scruples.
You
We
know,
needed.
really
was
hadn't
doing-
heard enough about dick so
We
far
haven't,
tonight. I
you
really
know,
thank you for.
we were
Wait,
talking about lemon
I just want to
particles.
interrupt one
Paid
second.
portion of the show
I just want to
too,
interrupt
so it's
really,
fine.
really quick. Historically, since
Have I ever
episode
rode dick?
no. Historically, since episode 0 of this show, at least once we talk about dick.
Yes!
Every single
It's all about the
fucking
So here we
episode.
are, and here we are.
And I
We also
don't know
talk
how that
about
works.
Silicone dicks.
I'm
Because
here for
those are
that
also
because I use
important.
those as well.
They are important.
They're very important.
But we were in the middle of the coitus, and
That is the most polite I've ever heard you be about
That was
anything.
just beautiful.
You know,
Can you please say that word one
we
more
were
time?
in the middle of the
shit.
we were in the middle of the coitus.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Beautiful.
And,
Sounds like a club.
He told me he was like you're hurting me. What the fuck?
I know.
Like,
Sometimes you just need a dolphin.
Sometimes
Sometimes
that
you need a
is.
dolphin.
fucking dolphin.
Do you like to ride flipper also?
Oh, absolutely. Every day, flap, flap,
And
flap,
that's a
flap.
different show altogether.
Next week on the Cosmic Disaster.
Cosmic disasters
in 2
way
weeks.
after dark.
2 weeks.
He,
Oh, I'm sorry.
he told me that I was crushing him because my thighs were too big, and I was like, I thought it was a compliment. I was like, yeah. But no, like he pushed me off. He pushed me off, and then like started hitting me, and was like really. And I stayed in that relationship over and over again. And mind you, that was my first relationship, and my mom has been in nothing but abusive relationships, every single one.
We did. We know.
Yeah, we do.
And so
Until we
for
don't,
that
then.
for that to be my first relationship really took me back. But being told that the person that you want or that you are in love with, because I was in love with him but he didn't love me. So that was also a thing. But to be told by the someone that you really want that you are not there forever is very, very disheartening. And I knew that he was cheating on me. I knew that there were other people that he was talking to. And out of all of them, like, I was the only one that was dark skinned. I was the only one who had a house. I was the only one who was at the time stable. I was the only one who did these things and these things and these things. And I had some type of good wig on his shoulders. And so...
I'm sorry, we cannot just gloss past that. That was brilliance. We can't just like skate past that sentence.
And so it was like...
Wow.
to know that he was using me for the stability from me and not because he actually wanted to be with me and because of what I physically looked like and had I used to bleach my skin. There was moments where I didn't do shows. I dropped out of shows. I didn't do drag for a long time. I didn't teach. There was moments where I couldn't do that because I had welts all over my body. My face was swollen. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't call anyone because what can I do? There was a person who was in front of me telling me all of these sweet things one moment, and then also telling me that I was the garbage because of what I looked like.
And can you imagine too, like that as a foundational experience of relationships?
Exactly.
Let alone then when you try to reach out into the
100%.
world and care about something.
I've been there.
Or care about
First relationship.
like something or someone. And people invest in stuff like, you know, like
I told I was
Star Trek,
garbage.
like Firefly, like theater, like video games, like any of that stuff. They invest in something because it makes them feel better. It makes them feel included. It makes them feel like they belong somewhere, whether it's drag or D&D or theater or any of this stuff. And then imagine like, you know, all of the stress of the things that you've been talking about just in regular life, plus people are going to then insult you and do all manner of other terrible things just because of the things you also like.
I hate the question of when did you know you were gay? Or when did you know you were bi?
When did you know you were straight?
And then I tell them, so you mean when did I know that I wasn't going to be accepted with my community? Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Because that's the real question. Is for me internally is when did I know that my family was going to disown me, or when did I know that my friend group was going to dissipate? Like when did I know that I was going to walk in the boys' locker room and they all were going to move to one side because they thought that my gay was contagious? Like there were moments.
I'm laughing because you are, but I know it's not funny.
But like there are moments where I'm just like, all right, great. Like I know that I am not. This game is not contagious unless you want it to be. But like I know these things about myself, but I can't continue to handle someone else's ridicule. And then also be like, oh, I'm gonna go on stage in like 3 hours, put on a good face, and like do a show. Like that's not. I personally think that is insane to do.
Well, yeah.
But everyone, literally everyone in theater does it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's all we do.
Yeah.
And every time, like, and I try as much as possible to, like, everyone around me to give them the benefit of the doubt because I know that I am not just the queen of fucking Sheba and I'm the only one going through these things. But, like, there are moments where I'm just like, I know you're projecting, and I know I'm projecting, and I know this is just a classroom full of projectors, and it's not working out. I know it's
nobody
not
knows what
happening.
class we're teaching.
And no one knows.
Everyone's
not
excited
enough
about
wall
Bill
space
Nye.
for this.
Everybody's got one of those Vis-a-Vis pens.
Yes,
It's just
I'm
all
just like showing a
nightmare
move. I'm
everywhere.
showing the Breakfast Club, and everyone's like, "This is how you have sex." Like I just, like it's not like I just. So it creates a toxic space because we're bringing things outside and bringing them in, but we're not knowing that we're doing them. And so we're just wearing this like armor, but we don't know that this armor is also cutting ourselves and then bleeding into everyone else. So
Yes. The other half of that though, as a performer, you bring the stuff into the space, right? And that's not great, but it's a way to dissipate it.
Oh yeah.
So like that's where it becomes positive for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Is like you come into you could be having the shittiest day, you could be completely not accepted by anybody doing anything, but you come into a room with a bunch of theater people, a bunch of D&D players, a bunch of people who do cosplay, anything that they do, and you could bring all that energy in and it sucks. But what you're doing together doesn't, and then it can positive energy can really displace all of the other bullshit that comes into the room. And so like, but when you're talking about like all this heavy shit that you've had to deal with, you know, coming into a space like this with people who care about you, who listen to what you have to say. I mean, like, if people are going to demean you for finding your people,
it is
that's
okay
a bunch
for
of
that to
bullshit.
be abnormal. Cause that's abnormal to me. I don't like I'm usually in spaces where people are like, yeah, free love, whatever, let's like make out. But that's just theater. And
I don't know, I'm not sure anymore.
you know.
Isn't it just life? I mean,
but there are moments where I'm just like I can't, that like whole yes, let's like friend and all that stuff, like that to me, like there's just a wall there.
Oh yeah.
That I still to this day have not broken down, and letting myself feel those things, but
you're getting better.
And I'm trying. But like there's that wall there of like are these people really genuine? And do they want to hear my feelings? And also, do I care to hear theirs? And also, why are we here? And also, why am I not getting paid for this? They're just
There you go.
There are like so
That's a whole
many,
other podcast.
you know, getting paid for work. But there are like moments where I'm just like, that dark side comes out of me of just like, there are all of these things that that are happening to me and like cascading down. And then there's also things inside of this place that are happening and cascading down to me. So I'm like, I don't think I can win. And where do I win? Or where do I at least get third place? And I sometimes I think that third place for me is just like doing my own shit. Because then I just get to be like, this is mine. I have these. Ooh, I like this. Where's the way? I know the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is
Yeah,
the way.
but like especially in the LGBT culture, like there are just so many. There's so many like underlining racist things that happen and that are getting pushed my way, and so I'm like, so you're telling me that I'm too black to wear this, or I'm too whatever to do whatever. Like, I know I got thighs, but you don't have to say. I had a message sent to me
Oh, moy.
today,
Moy? Oh, boy.
which was funny. I had a message sent to me today. It was this long email to my drag email, KimiCatInfo@gmail.com. And yes, and I was just like, I was like going through all of my emails or whatever, like trying to find something that I sent to someone at one point. And then I get this like notification of this email, and it was like, I went to one of your shows. I do the show at the Gag at the Winchester. It is every last Thursday of every month. Thank you so much.
We'll make sure we put that in the comment section, the description below.
But it's called The Gag, and it is a like 80s pub kid dance show. And they pointed out that my thighs were too much.
What the fuck does too much mean?
Because they took
They
a
worried
picture.
they'd suffocate between them.
Oh, that's right. I
basically,
forgot.
Thick thighs save lives.
Thick thighs make the dick rise.
Hey!
So
There's all these phrases I didn't know about.
I like that one.
thank you so much.
All right.
So
Okay.
they were like pointing out like my thighs and how they had scars on them and blah blah blah, and how they were like not good to look at. And I sent him a message back, and I said, so when I was young, my mom used to burn me with cigarettes. How about that?
What you gonna do?
Mine too. I've got.
Yeah,
I got them on my arms.
I was like, do we really want to talk about that? I was like, I used to cut myself not on my arms because people at church would see them, and it was hot.
So it was my legs.
So it was my legs. So what are we gonna talk about now? And I heard nothing, and they just said I heard nothing, and then they replied like an hour later of like, sorry, or my apologies, have a good day. And it was one of those things where I had to like. It's
Because they have a problem within themselves that they need to take out on somebody.
That's what people do, man.
And being real and
Right.
normalizing, and not necessarily normalizing the trauma.
Not the action,
not
but
the
normalizing
action.
the fact that it has
Exactly.
happened.
Oh, yeah.
And that you have
And-
moved past it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that is something that inside of me that I'm comfortable with doing. And I am okay with doing. And if it is brought, like when you tell, like, you know, I had a fuck ass little kid at one point, was just like that I taught dance to, and he was like, you did blah 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 blah, and I was like, yeah, I did, and I told you this in confidence, and now you're telling everyone else, but that is okay because I'm okay with this. And I think there's within everyone, I believe, there's like this moment of like confidence that you were able to like throw stories out and be okay if they come back at you.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, yeah, I did that, and I cope with it. But then in the back of your brain, you're like,
I overshared.
This is a
not
story
only-
that I don't really ever tell anyone. Why do I do that? It sounds like I'm
Yeah.
talking about someone else's life. Maybe that's easier.
yeah. But then I'm just, but then I feel kind of closure by doing that. But then I'm also putting myself out there, which I hate, obviously, because I do drag.
Big same.
But you know, it's like I don't want to overshare, but I want to share in the right spaces that count.
And that's the thing, because everyone will still feel alone, right? And it's just
it's like that. Because of being suppressed within my own community and within my own self, I am able to feel comfortable with myself at a certain point to use that as a battle scar to be like, yeah, and I did this, and what you gonna do about it?
right.
Period. But then I'm just like, I wish I had said that to Fred. I wish I had said that to a group of people where it actually mattered and we can actually talk about it.
You're
And
saying a
it
bunch of shit
wasn't-
to a group of people right now that matters, and,
and
those people
that's
can
what
hear it.
and
I
that's
mean,
what
like,
I'm saying.
yeah.
Because these are things that
I mean-
because I have interviews by myself in my house.
Who does not? Who does
with me.
not?
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. That's
I'm not weird. And-
Jackie's like, I don't think I do.
But this
I
is
think you're
literally
on
something
that.
that
I
I
have
talked about.
cats. I'm not by myself, okay?
Right.
Okay.
I have Grey's Anatomy playing in the background.
Yeah, like I'm still talking to myself. I talk to myself in the car. Like I hold whole ass arguments with myself in the car.
And I'm like, bitch, and you shouldn't do. Hold on, wait. Cause you.
I don't piss myself
yourself
off.
in the
Hold my
mirror.
ear. Hold on.
I'm like stripping off a wig that I never bought. Like I just.
You just make yourself mad.
I stole it. I stole that wig. I stole that wig.
It was green and curly, and I stole it.
All right, now they're not gonna get that.
I
Hey,
need that back.
think about somebody with a green curly wig. It's fun.
Ain't nobody gonna know who that is except
No,
us.
they will not.
It's
But
okay. It's a joke.
be very fancy. Hey, listen.
So I hate to be that guy.
You should hate it.
I kind of do. Especially since I am the cisgender heterosexual white male in the room.
Y'all can also PayPal
What
me
the
because I
fuck?
definitely do have $2.43 in my bank account. And so if anybody has any monies to spare, please
We'll
hit
put
up my
it.
PayPal.
We'll put it in the
at-
description below.
Okay, you're
All
right.
No,
okay, I'm not.
No,
joking.
the only reason
Definitely
I'm cutting this off because this could be an entire fucking series
Yeah,
with this
let's
group.
do it.
I literally will not be able to upload this because where I'm uploading it, the file will be too fucking big.
man.
And compression would be a problem.
It would.
Compression's always a problem.
And we would also sound like
Listen,
robots.
I'm black. I've been through too
Yeah.
much compression.
But I want to thank you all.
And my penis is big, so I don't
Thank
do
you all very much.
compression short.
And normally this is something that we would kind of like
I
put
know,
behind a
looks good.
paywall, but I
know,
think
right?
because the conversation was so important, we're gonna put this whole fucker out there for the world to see for free because everything that was said today was very important. So thank you guys for agreeing to do this, and I hope you come back because and Tams, this was your first time.
Wait, we had a choice to do this?
Yes,
You're not
You
getting
just
paid?
came and
there's
you
always a
know,
choice.
You
So-
poured your whole ass heart out voluntarily.
I mean,
Yeah, there's
that
always a
was
choice.
those are monologues that I put together from Titanic.
I kind of thought so. All right. So, Patrony, sorry this won't be exclusive to you this week. I apologize, but next week we'll get you. We'll get you. But hopefully you also understand this was a very important conversation. It was good shit. So, once again, thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate you. Jake
for having
Quellen,
us.
always look at the face of giving face.
Her
Look at
eyebrows
that.
are touching her forehead.
So
Oh,
Tamara,
that
thank
face.
you
Oh,
for
thank
joining.
you.
Normally you're just in our studio audience, and today you got to be a superstar.
Yes, thank you.
Do it.
that's
There
right.
you go. So, thank you, and special thanks to Radio Bitch over here. She was the button masher
Hi
today.
guys.
All right. So usually Radio Bitch is out there doing that thing that y'all are doing, but she was kind of holding the buttons
So
down
good.
for us this week. So,
Video kill
Um,
the radio, bitch.
so we'll see you next week.
Song.
The video is kind of killing the Radio Bitch because she's fucking up on the buttons.
Fuck you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. Thanks again for everybody in studio. Thanks to our Discordians who ducked out early.
disgust me.
I was like, is
So
Louis still
we'll see
there?
y'all next
What's
week.
going on?
No, they're gone. They dipped out. So we'll see you next week. Bye.
風探して進むさ